Between Hurts and the now former starter Carson Wentz. Here's what he said.
This is a situation where it's not Carson versus Jalen or Jalen versus Carson. Carson's been a professional about what he's doing inside this building, on the field, during games, and helping. The team doesn't feel like there's any kind of animosity between one of the guys. We're all here to try to win games, and that's what I feel, with the team.
All right, so that's what he's saying. And as the coach, that's what he has to say. But after the reports from Adam Schefter over the weekend that Wentz is making it clear he doesn't want any part of being a backup and isn't happy with the way it's been handled, Dan Orlovsky said on my radio show yesterday, Marcus, it's one thing for the quarterback room to be competitive. It's another for it to be combative. In your mind, Marcus Spears, where are we right now with Carson Wentz?
Well, obviously the money matters, G, right? Like Graz is on here, he can tell you. But with Wentz, like, combative for what? Like, this is the bed you made, Carson Wentz. Like, you have yourself in this situation. So the combative part would come from Carson based on what I know about Jalen. And I don't want to cast any aspersions on Carson Wentz about how he feels. I know he doesn't like it. You've started in this league. You've been the tag the franchise guy, $100 million, all of that. But I don't care about a damn quarterback room. You played your way into this situation. I can't reiterate that enough because it seems that this narrative is around that everybody wants to say, well, Doug Peterson doesn't trust him and management don't trust him because they got Jalen Hurts in the second round. Hell, management may have knew something we didn't know coming into the season. They may have known that this was a potential of Carson Wentz regressing like this and having these issues and having Jalen. Thank goodness Jalen Hurts is on your roster, especially in the NFC East. You potentially had a chance to get into the playoffs. But with that being said, like, I don't want to hear a damn thing about being combative or the quarterback room or what they should and shouldn't do for Carson Wentz. This is the lay of the land in the NFL. If you play bad, if you suck, you'll be replaced. And if that replacement is playing well, then the conversation will get started. And the only reason this is a conversation because he's a $100 million quarterback. That's the only reason we're having this discussion.
I think that's a point well taken, is that if he really is unhappy with the way it was handled, it would be because he feels he's earned something that I don't think anyone else thinks he's earned. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they've earned the right to pay badly and go down with the ship. Carson Wentz has not. All he's really earned is an enormous amount of money in Philadelphia to this point. So, Jeff Saturday, how do you see it right now from the Wentz standpoint? If he really is, and that story doesn't get out there by accident, really is unhappy with how it's been handled, what would you say?
Yeah, Wentz needs a new start somewhere else. I mean, listen, if Jalen Hurts continues to play the rest of the season how he has played the first two games, and listen, the jump he made from week 1 to week 2, in my opinion, was incredible, right? I mean, just the poise that he played with. So let's talk about Wentz. You have the backup has a statue in Nick Foles. You just been supplanted again by Jalen Hurts. Like, anytime there's any issue, everybody's going to be calling for your job. So from his perspective, the best thing that could happen for him is for him to move on and go somewhere else. Because you can't tell me when they hit the offseason that Carson Wentz is going to have the benefit of the doubt from anybody inside the locker room or outside. And right now, his agent, his family, everybody's telling him, man, you're a former MVP candidate, blah, blah, blah. You can still do it at this level. You can, and which all is very true, right? I mean, I think he has possibility elsewhere, but to try to do it in Philly with everything that has gone on, I just don't see him overcoming that stuff. It's time for him to move on and find a new home.
All right, Graziano, all that sounds good. It sounds very good to me, but it obviously isn't as easy as that. So what does it look like?
Look, I didn't hear the question because of Marcus's wonderful laugh.
How does it go?
You're asking me what the...
If indeed he's going to get a fresh start somewhere else, how does that happen?
They can't cut him. That's $50+ million on next year's cap. I hate to always be bringing up the cap cost, but it matters in terms of how teams operate their team. But they could trade him, but the acquiring team has to take on $25 million next year and guarantee him $15 million in 2022. So you would have to find a team that believes in Carson Wentz's potential. There are certainly going to be teams like that out there and is willing to pay for it. And then you get to the issue of what are you going to get for him, right? Is it worth trading him for nothing just to get him off your books? Probably not. So you got to find a team that's willing to give you something of value and take on the contract. It would be very, very interesting. If they're desperate to move him, it might be a situation where you have to get creative if you're the Eagles and maybe include something else in the deal, another player that might be more appealing to the team acquiring him just to get a deal done. So the question is, how badly does he want out? How badly do the Eagles want out? And if they can't make it work, how tenable is the situation if he comes back and either has to fight off Jalen Hurts for the job or be Jalen Hurts' backup? Very, very tricky situation in Philadelphia.
Everybody raising their hand. Everybody wants in. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, listen, the issue with the divisiveness in that quarterback room, if Carson Wentz can't supplant Jalen Hurts, it does become toxic in that room. I don't care what anybody says. Dan makes a good point. If you can't unseat him and you can't beat him out and you don't want to be a backup, it becomes a divisive issue in your locker room. And look, you can't have it. So whatever the Eagles think they can get, want to get whatever, if you can get him out of there for the betterment of your football team, that's the direction you have to head from the organization standpoint.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point because Graz and Jeff are right about that. The next team, like, think about how leery you have to be as the next team that may be thinking about pulling the trigger on Carson Wentz based on the way he's played. Guys, we cannot get away from the fact, like, I know he needs a fresh start, Jeff. I'm with you 100%. But we can't get away from the fact that Carson Wentz looked bad, right? And if he has an expectation to make the type of money he was going to make in Philly, I don't know if other teams are willing to bet that based on what they've watched him do this particular season. So this situation has become difficult, obviously, within that locker room, but it's become difficult in the front offices around the NFL based on what you think Carson Wentz can become again, as opposed to and as well having to commit a certain amount of money to him. This ain't an easy decision for any team to just say, hey, we about to trade for him because we think he can turn into 2017.
It could be a very interesting offseason with a game of quarterback musical chairs. We'll see where the seat is for Carson Wentz. We are just getting started. So much football still to come, including this. The Buccaneers aren't exactly firing the cannons early and often. What Bruce and Brady have to fix right now to avoid being one and done. And then fix it or forget it in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you exactly why Big Ben and the Steelers, it's so much football still to come, including this. The Buccaneers aren't exactly firing the cannons early and often. What Bruce and Brady have to fix right now to avoid being one and done. And then fix it or forget it in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you exactly why Big Ben and the Steelers need to right the ship right now or